Problem solving for you. All of you have investment portfolios. These portfolios will have multiple asset classes. Even within each asset class, you will be participating in that asset class to multiple vehicles. You could be invested in mutual funds. You may have your own stock portfolio. You will have portfolio management schemes. Some of you may have invested in AIFs. Many of you will have legacy ULIPs which you were sold to in the past. Some of you may have turned to doing only indexing. There will always be investors amongst you who now invest only in the direct option. But all these things are all needing to come together. Do they really come together? That's the first problem, I think, that needs to be solved. That's a problem which I have solved for a lot of people over these 16 years in the iThought journey. How do we do this? The investor first collates what all he has got. We help them understand where they have their investments, how much our investments are lying, and how all these investments come together in the overall context. So we first understand the big picture. Once we understand the big picture from the client, we make the client understand the big picture. That's the first problem that we solve, because most investors have investments that make them happy, but they don't clearly have a big picture. You may be surprised I'm making this statement. Let me first tell you what the big picture really means to you. As an investor, the big picture to me is how much money have I invested in the past into my portfolios? Where is that money lying? And what is its present performance? When I say present performance, what is its performance from where I started to this day? So I need to understand what has happened to all the incremental monies that the investor has put, when they put that money, and how the returns have been generated from the date on which these investments were made. Essentially, you need to have an XIRR that tells you how each investment contributed to your overall returns. Now, you will always learn something when you get a clear idea of how much capital you started with, how you gave more capital to your portfolio, and what all the capital has done for you. To my mind, most investors don't have this clear picture, because everybody is just looking at what happened in the last day, last week, last month, and last year. Ask yourself, what was the value of your portfolio in March 2020, which is the worst time to measure your portfolio, and 99% of the investors don't have a number. Ask yourself how your portfolio behaved from March 2022 to March 2024. You may not have an answer. Ask yourself how much money you deployed post-COVID till today. A lot of people don't know how much money they have put in. But these are all important data points that tell you how you have approached the market, what you have done to strengthen your portfolio, how your portfolio responded to your efforts, how the market gave you opportunity for all the efforts that you took to deploy more money, and what can be done better. Because when you do this exercise, you realize that maybe you are always behind the curve in adding money into your portfolio. You are never ahead of the curve. As a result of that, your returns are a little lesser than what they should have been. If you are faster in investing when you are warned or alerted about an opportunity, then maybe your returns could be better. This self-awareness is something that I think is the most important component of the big picture. Most investors don't have this self-awareness. As an investor, I think having this self-awareness is going to take you places. And that's my experience. That's the experience that I have learned by observing great investors with whom I have had close association and interaction over the last 3.5 decades. So this is something that every investor can have. That's the good news. Every investor can create this experience, provided He knows that this is a problem. He recognizes the problem. He works with people who can solve that problem. Now, what is the best way to solve this problem? The best way to solve this problem is to give the investor an investment experience where the investor is clearly aware that he is incurring an expenditure. He is aware that the expenditure is reasonable and commensurate to the outcome. He knows that if he puts that expenditure concern aside or the worries about expenditure aside and focuses on the investing, the expenditure can more than deliver and justify itself. How will expenditure justify itself? It will justify itself in performance. What is the timeline to get this performance? If you're solving a problem, first you become aware of the big picture. That itself is going to take some time. Then you slowly turn the big picture around. So you improve your big picture. You clean up. You take money out of the ULIPs. You take money out of some investments which you should never have made. You clean up your equity portfolio, leaving the good parts and taking money out of the mediocre and bad parts of the portfolio. You repurpose all this capital into only good parts. And by doing this continuously, you make your portfolio more and more efficient and well-purposed and perfectly positioned. When you have done this, you have already positioned your portfolio for the future. And you have positioned it in the right direction. What happens is, in the subsequent few years, your portfolio starts delivering returns and you start seeing the benefits of clearly being aware of the big picture. This is the problem that I have been solving for investors as a professional. And this is a problem that needs to be solved for most investors. And this is a problem which, if solved, will never have a reason to justify whatever costs and fees are incurred in the process. Also, in this process, it's very important for us as professionals to keep the overall fees low for the investor, keep it justifiable, keep it commensurate to what he is going to get as an investment outcome. When we do all these things, then the investor's big picture keeps improving continuously for a decade and beyond. And when an investor does this with us, his rate of compounding remains high for very extended periods of time. And that in turn gives us the satisfaction of creating our own ultra HNIs and large investors. This is the problem that we have been solving for investors in the iThought journey. If this interests you and you would like to join us on this journey, feel free to fill up the form that is there in the description, and we will be reaching out to you and starting the conversation on how we can do problem solving for you and together take you to where you want to be in the future. Thank you for watching this video.